Women don't think about sex less than men. They think about it differently. That distinction matters more than you've been taught, because the lie you inherited was designed for comfort, not accuracy. You were trained to believe female desire is reactive, something that switches on only when triggered by the right words, the right mood, the right touch, as if it sleeps until awakened. But in reality, sexual desire in women is hidden, contextual, and continuous. It doesn't announce itself loudly. It runs in the background, woven into imagination, emotion, and contrast. And because it doesn't behave like yours, most men never see it. The lie persists because it keeps things simple. It protects social comfort. If women are framed as less sexual, less driven by fantasy, less internally active, then men don't have to confront how much is happening beneath the surface without ever becoming action. But desire doesn't disappear just because it isn't expressed physically. It relocates. It lives in daydreams, in fleeting curiosity, in the way attention lingers, in the internal narratives no one hears. Women are not thinking in explicit acts the way men do. They're thinking in states, how it would feel, who makes them feel alive, where tension exists. That current doesn't turn on and off. It flows continuously, shaped by environment and emotion. And this is why men miss it. They're looking for signals that match their own wiring. They expect clarity, escalation, directness. But female desire rarely presents itself that way. It hides in plain sight, protected by the myth that it's rare, passive, and conditional. And that difference between how men imagine desire works and how it actually operates is exactly why most men never notice what's been there all along. Men are taught the wrong model because passivity keeps order. If female sexuality is framed as reactive, something that only appears when properly stimulated, then men don't have to confront how much desire exists independently of them. They're taught that women want sex less, think about it less, and only engage when the moment is explicitly created. If she wants you, she'll show it clearly. That sentence alone blinds more men than any rejection ever could. It trains you to wait for obvious signals while ignoring the subtle, continuous ones that never announce themselves. The result is a generation of men who confuse silence with absence and miss what's happening because it doesn't look like their own desire. This model survives because acknowledging female sexual imagination would disrupt too much. It would force society to admit that desire doesn't always want action, that fantasy doesn't equal intent, and that attraction can exist without permission or outcome. So instead, female sexuality is sanitized. It's framed as responsive, situational, almost accidental. And when men notice patterns that don't fit that story, they're corrected. You're reading too much into it. She's just being friendly. Not everything is sexual. Those phrases aren't explanations. They're social brakes. They train you to doubt perception and defer to comfort. This is why men hesitate when they sense tension. They feel it, then immediately override it. They tell themselves they're projecting. They suppress curiosity to avoid looking inappropriate. Or they escalate in the wrong direction, asking direct questions that collapse the moment. Are you flirting with me? Do you find me attractive? That's escalation, and it kills the signal. Others collapse completely, pretending desire doesn't exist to appear respectful. Both reactions come from the same training, that female sexuality only matters when it's explicit. Anything else is imagined. Listen to what's actually said. I just like the vibe. It's harmless. I wasn't thinking about sex. None of these deny desire. They deny intention. And that distinction is everything. Men miss it because they're taught to equate desire with action. If no action is planned, they assume nothing is happening. But female sexual thought doesn't operate on that timeline. It runs continuously, responding to contrast, attention, and emotional charge, not to opportunity alone. The psychological threat here is uncomfortable, but clarifying you were trained not to notice, not because you're incapable, but because noticing creates friction. It complicates narratives. It requires restraint instead of reaction. Once you see that, you stop escalating for clarity and stop collapsing into denial. You don't force moments and you don't erase them either. You observe without panic. And that shift, quiet, internal, precise, is what finally lets you see what was never invisible, only inconvenient. Women don't think about sex in acts. That's the critical misunderstanding. They think in states, in atmospheres, in emotional temperature. Sexuality for women isn't a switch that flips when opportunity appears. It's a current that runs continuously beneath mood, fantasy, and contrast. It's woven into how a moment feels, how a person makes them feel, how alive or invisible they are in a given space. This is why so much sexual thought never aims at action. It isn't trying to go anywhere. It's trying to feel something, desired, chosen, energized, seen. And because men are trained to associate desire with execution, they miss the fact that imagination is doing most of the work long before behavior ever matters. Female sexual thought lives primarily in imagination, not logistics. Opportunity is secondary. Imagination responds to emotional charge, novelty, and tension, not availability. A woman can think sexually without wanting sex. She can feel desire without wanting to act on it. She can be internally aroused by contrast alone, how she feels around one person versus another, without any intention of crossing a line. When she says things like, "I don't know why, I just like the way it feels," or "It's not about sex," she's not lying. She's describing a state, not denying desire. Men hear that and either escalate, pushing the moment, forcing clarity, or collapse, pretending nothing is happening to stay safe. Both reactions break the spell. This is where men consistently get it wrong. They assume desire should behave like theirs, episodic, goal-oriented, explicit. But female desire is ambient. It runs in the background, shaped by environment, attention, and emotional contrast. It intensifies or fades depending on how alive she feels, not on whether sex is immediately possible. That's why trying to force it into action too early kills it, and denying it exists at all drains tension completely. The correct posture is containment. You don't escalate to make something happen, and you don't collapse into neutrality to avoid misreading signals. You stay present without leaking urgency. The anchor truth matters here. Female sexuality lives in imagination long before behavior. If you're waiting for behavior to confirm desire, you're already late. If you try to convert imagination into action prematurely, you collapse it. Awareness here isn't about doing more, it's about reacting less. When you understand that most sexual thought is about feeling alive rather than doing something sexual. You stop panicking around it. You let tension breathe. You don't chase clarity, and you don't erase possibility. And in that space, quiet, grounded, unforced, you finally begin to see how desire actually moves, instead of how you were told it should. This is where calibration replaces paranoia. The words women use around desire are rarely lies, but they're almost never literal either. Take the phrase, "I just like the attention." Men hear this and assume superficiality. But what it actually signals is sexual validation without intent to act. Attention stimulates the nervous system. It confirms desirability. It creates a state. There's no plan embedded in it, no destination. The mistake men make is escalating, sexualizing the moment, pushing it forward, trying to convert validation into action. That collapses the state immediately. The other mistake is collapse, pretending attention means nothing at all. That drains tension just as effectively. The correct response is to register stimulation without reacting to it. Then there's, it's harmless flirting. This isn't a denial of erotic energy. It's a boundary around commitment. Flirting here is stimulation without obligation, desire without direction. Men misread this by arguing definitions. If it's harmless, why does it feel charged? Or by accusing, which turns curiosity into defensiveness. Both reactions kill calibration. You don't need to decide whether it's harmless. You need to notice where stimulation consistently flows and where restraint quietly disappears. Another phrase that confuses men is, "I don't know why. It just makes me feel good." This isn't chaos or immaturity. It's an honest description of nervous system activation. Desire doesn't always know why it's activated. It just is. Men escalate by demanding logic or clarity, asking questions like, "What do you want from this?" That's premature. Others collapse by dismissing the feeling entirely to avoid misreading it. Both approaches misunderstand the function of the statement. It's not an invitation. It's a signal of internal arousal without intention. And then there's the classic denial that isn't actually a denial. I wasn't thinking about sex. Translated accurately, it means I wasn't thinking about physical sex. She's telling you her desire existed in imagination, not in action. Men hear this and either feel foolish for noticing tension or feel frustrated that nothing is acknowledged. Again, escalation and collapse are the twin errors. The instructional layer is simple and unforgiving. Don't argue definitions. Don't accuse. Observe patterns of stimulation. Words describe states. Patterns reveal direction. You watch what consistently lights her up, what she seeks without prompting, what environments intensify or mute desire. You don't force clarity, and you don't erase ambiguity. You let behavior repeat itself without interference. When you stop reacting emotionally, no pressure, no denial, you gain something most men never do: accurate read. And with accurate read, you don't need to guess what's happening. You can see it, calmly, without losing position. Men miss it or ruin it because they interpret female sexual thought as intent. They assume that if desire exists, it must be going somewhere. If fantasy appears, it must be asking for action. If attention is given, it must be an invitation. That assumption is the root error. Desire is not a decision. Fantasy is not a plan. Attention is not availability. But men collapse all three into the same category. then react as if something needs to be done immediately. And the moment they react, they change the state that made desire possible in the first place. This is why escalation happens so fast. A man senses tension, curiosity, warmth, and he moves to lock it down. He sexualizes the moment too early. He asks direct questions like, "So what are we doing here?" or "Are you attracted to me?" He pushes clarity because he thinks clarity preserves opportunity. In reality, it destroys it. Female sexual thought lives in imagination and state, not outcome. The second you force it into a decision, self-consciousness replaces tension. What was fluid becomes heavy. Attraction collapses under the weight of being noticed too aggressively. When escalation backfires, moral judgment often follows. Men label what they don't understand. That's inappropriate. That's mixed signals. That's leading me on. These statements don't create boundaries. They signal insecurity. They turn curiosity into defense and arousal into caution. On the other side, some men collapse completely. They need reassurance. They ask, "Is this anything, or I don't want to get the wrong idea?" That's emotional leakage. It hands control of the moment away and drains tension instantly. Both escalation and collapse come from the same place: discomfort with ambiguity. The anchor truth is simple, and brutal gentlemen confuse arousal with invitation. Female desire can exist without wanting anything from you. It can enjoy a state without planning a future. It can feel good without intending to act. When a woman says, "I just like how it feels," or "It's not that deep," she's not being evasive. She's describing a state. Men win it by demanding it become something else. The correct posture is containment. You don't push forward, and you don't retreat into neutrality. You allow desire to exist without interrogating it. You don't moralize it, and you don't need reassurance from it. You watch whether tension sustains itself naturally or fades when left alone. That tells you more than any conversation ever could. When you stop reacting emotionally, no pressure, no judgment, no need for clarity, you stop ruining what most men never even recognize. And that's when you begin to understand how female desire actually operates, instead of fighting it with assumptions that were never true. This is the trap that kills everything once tension appears. The moment a man senses desire, he feels pressure to respond to it. And that pressure splits him into two losing moves: escalation or collapse. Escalation is the obvious one. Sexual pressure creeps in. He makes it explicit too soon. He confronts the moment directly with lines like, "So, are you into me or not?" or "I don't want to misread this." Sometimes it's framed as confidence, sometimes as honesty, but the effect is the same. The state collapses into self-consciousness. What was fluid becomes evaluated. What was imagined becomes observed. Attraction doesn't like being put on trial. The instant desire is forced to explain itself. It retreats. Collapse looks more polite, but it's just as destructive. Instead of pushing forward, the man erases himself. Over-politeness replaces presence. Sexual self-censorship kicks in. He pretends desire doesn't exist at all, telling himself it's safer that way. He says things like, "I don't want to make this weird," or "I'm probably just overthinking." This doesn't create comfort. It kills tension. When desire isn't acknowledged internally, it has nowhere to live externally. The energy flattens. The moment passes, Not because it was wrong, but because it was abandoned. Both reactions come from the same discomfort with ambiguity. Escalation tries to resolve tension by turning it into action. Collapse tries to resolve tension by denying it exists. Neither works. Sexual tension survives only when it's not demanded or denied. That's the line most men never learn. When a woman says, "I just like the vibe," escalation hears an invitation, and collapse hears a warning. Both are misreads. The statement describes a state, not a request, and not a boundary. The correct posture is containment. Containment means you don't pressure the moment, and you don't apologize for it either. You stay grounded. You don't rush to define what's happening, and you don't rush to neutralize it. When she says, "It's just playful," you don't push it further and you don't shut it down. You let playfulness exist. You respond without urgency. You allow tension to breathe without needing ownership of it. This is where "don't escalate" and "don't collapse" becomes practical, not theoretical. You don't force clarity, because clarity kills imagination. You don't erase desire, because denial kills chemistry. You stay present without leaking need or fear. And when you do that, something important happens. Either the tension sustains itself naturally, or it fades on its own. Both outcomes are information. Both preserve your position. The men who lose are the ones who panic when desire appears and feel compelled to either grab it or bury it. The men who see clearly are the ones who can let it exist without flinching. This is not advice. Advice invites overthinking. This is posture, the internal position an aware man holds when desire appears. The first move is restraint. Do not force sexual clarity. You never ask, "Do you want me?" You don't push the moment with questions that demand a verdict. The instant you ask for confirmation, you turn imagination into obligation. Desire doesn't respond to interrogation. It dissolves under it. When a woman says, "I'm just enjoying this," you don't translate that into a decision. You let the state exist without trying to own it. The second move is tracking responsiveness. Not words. Language is curated. Responsiveness leaks. You watch where her attention lingers when no one is performing. You notice when proximity increases without explanation, when her tone softens without request, when pauses stretch because neither of you is in a hurry to fill them. No reaction, just data. You don't comment on it, and you don't capitalize on it prematurely. Most men contaminate the moment by reacting too fast. Awareness requires patience. The third move is containment, not leakage. Calm presence replaces performance. Minimal validation replaces reassurance. You don't suppress desire. Suppression creates tension that feels anxious. You also don't advertise it. Advertising creates pressure that feels unsafe. You let desire be felt without being announced. When she says, "I like your energy," you don't escalate it into something sexual, and you don't deflect it with humor. You acknowledge lightly and stay grounded. Containment keeps the nervous system relaxed, which is where desire can breathe. The final move is letting desire reveal its direction. Fantasy either grounds or drifts over time. You don't chase confirmation with, "What does this mean?" You let repetition answer that for you. Does attention return naturally, or does it only appear when novelty is injected? Does proximity increase without prompting, or does it require constant initiation? You don't escalate to force momentum, and you don't collapse by pretending nothing is happening. You allow consistency or inconsistency to surface on its own. Here's the anchor that ties it together. Women don't hide desire. Men just look in the wrong place. When you stop demanding clarity and stop denying tension, desire shows its hand without needing to be cornered. And when you can read that hand calmly without pressure, without performance, you keep your position intact, whether it moves toward you or away. That's the power of posture. This isn't about manipulation, and it never was. Manipulation comes from fear. Fear of losing control. Fear of misreading. Fear of being left behind. What you've been given here is the opposite of that. It's a way to stop being blind. Awareness doesn't make you aggressive or calculating. It makes you calm. It removes the need to force moments, to extract reassurance, to panic when desire appears and doesn't immediately explain itself. When you see how female desire actually operates, insecurity has nothing left to cling to. Female desire is constant, not chaotic. It doesn't randomly turn on and off, and it doesn't exist only when permission is granted. It flows quietly through imagination, attention, emotional contrast. Most of the time, it isn't trying to go anywhere. It's simply responding to how alive someone feels in a given moment. When men misunderstand this, they react. They escalate, trying to secure it, or they collapse, trying to neutralize it. Both reactions come from panic, not masculinity. And what destroys desire isn't masculinity, it's panic. The urgency to define, to clarify, to be certain is what kills tension faster than anything else. You've heard phrases like, "I just enjoy the connection," or "It's not that serious," and felt confused by them. Now you know why. Those statements aren't invitations or rejections. They're descriptions of a state. An aware man doesn't argue with that state and doesn't disappear from it either. He stays present without demanding anything from it. He lets responsiveness, not words, reveal direction. And if desire drifts, he doesn't chase it. He notes it. That's not indifference. That's self-respect, grounded in perception. This kind of clarity doesn't make you cold. It makes you precise. You stop projecting intent where there is only imagination. You stop forcing outcomes where there is only tension. You don't escalate to feel powerful, and you don't collapse to feel safe. You let desire exist without flinching, and in doing so, you preserve your position whether it moves closer or fades away. If this surprised you, good. Truth usually does. Comfort lives in simple stories. Growth lives in accurate ones. Subscribe for clarity, not fantasy if what you want is to see, not to be soothed. Comment the patterns you've noticed, not the stories you tell yourself about them. And share this with the man who keeps misreading signals and blaming himself for it. Some men don't need more confidence. They need better perception.